Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickes, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Martin Richardson from the Crown Life Lutheran Church in Colleyville. Thank you for coming out today. We appreciate it. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you. I'd like to start by a short passage from Scripture. It comes from Matthew chapter 22. An expert of the law tested Jesus with this question. He said, "Teacher, what's the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." Love God, love neighbor. Those are the best things we can do in this life. And to learn about loving God as a pastor, I feel obliged to point you towards God's Word and to be part of a Christian community we call church. But as far as learning to love your neighbor, I would suggest that this gathering is a prime example of that. Because you, the five of you, have been elected to love and to lead this community, your neighbors. All of Tarrant County are your neighbors. And so as we start, we ask for God's wisdom that we could do that well. So let's pray. Lord God, you have tasked these people with the great responsibility of setting aside their agendas and their desires and instead to look after the needs of others. As they gather today, we pray that you would bless this assembly with wisdom, with discernment on how to best protect, sustain, and grow Tarrant County. Be with our elected leaders, that they would listen well, and they would lead with confidence. Be with our citizens and all of those others gathered here, that we would speak peacefully and respect those in authority. Lord, may our goal and our passion be to love our neighbors, just as your passion was to love and to serve us by sending Jesus to die on the cross that we would be forgiven. We pray this and we begin this time in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of court. We have several announcements as it relates to the agenda and other activities of the court. Let's start with the agenda first. We're going to ask that we do something a little bit different as far as taking things out of order when it comes to human resources and public health. We'd ask that we take public health first, that one item that is not consent on public health. We need to have an action of the court prior to us handling another item which is on human resources. So, Your Honor, when we come to that particular item, if we can just, rather than calling for human resources first, if we can get public health up here so the court can take action on it. Okay. Second of all, under purchasing, item 8H3, there is a revised court communication in your packet this morning. I believe that we've actually put that online for you already. Also, members of court, as it relates to future court meetings, June is a month where we have 5 Tuesdays, and so as our policy is that we have followed June 29th, which is a 5th Tuesday, we are not going to have Commissioners Court on the 29th. And there may be a court meeting in July that we also may cancel because of lack of a quorum, but we'll announce that once we are sure that we do not have a quorum on that date. As usual, we are going to take certain things out of order this morning. We'll begin with our discussions as it relates to the COVID-19 issue. We'll then ask Mr. Tenasia to come up and give his health report. And then finally, we're going to come back and talk a little bit about a scope of services that I believe we sent out to you all yesterday. And Ms. Camarena will be addressing the court at that time and answering any questions you may have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of June the 1st.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Any announcements?
Yes, I just want to share that next week there will be 2 COVID-19 vaccine pop-up clinics in Precinct 2. One at Cornerstone Baptist Church at 5415 Matlock Road. That'll be Tuesday through Thursday Tuesday, June 15th, Wednesday, Thursday, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then additionally at St. Matthew Catholic Church, 2021 New York Avenue in East Arlington, Friday and Saturday, June 18th, and Saturday 19th will be 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Sunday, June 20th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be sure to share this information via email as well as social media. I kind of messed up those dates and times. But the fact is, if you have not yet been vaccinated and you're in those areas during those days, that's an opportunity for you to receive your COVID-19 vaccine. You can sign up for an appointment or you can also walk up. Thank you.
And I would also remind everybody we have Senior Synergy coming up July the 1st. Any other? Okay, I've got one other announcement. When I decided to run in 2017, I pretty much decided that that was going to be my last run for county judge, but one never knows. And after talking with fellow leaders and friends, and most importantly, my family, my wife is back in the back today, I have decided that now is the time to prepare for the next chapter of my life. This morning I announced that I would not be seeking re-election for county judge. It has been one of my greatest honors of life to serve this county, especially to do so alongside my fellow commissioners. And I'm proud of all that we have accomplished together to make Tarrant County among the most innovative and collaborative counties in this nation. 45 years ago this month, Brenda and I were married and moved to Tarrant County. We've raised our family in Tarrant County. I started my business, Whitley Pennant, in Tarrant County, and we will continue to serve Tarrant County for all of the remainder of my term and the next chapter of my life. I want to thank Brenda and the kids for their support through my time in public service. You've always kept me going strong. I still have a year and a half of my term left. We have plenty of work to do, but I wanted to take a minute this morning to acknowledge my announcement, and I appreciate all of the support that everybody has given me during the 26 years that I will have had an opportunity to serve on this court. Thank you. Having a year and a half left, I can make it through this all right. All right. Thank you for being here, Brenda. We appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
Glenn, might I have a point of personal privilege?
Sure, sir.
It has been a joy to serve with you for all of your 26 years. For part of that 26 years, I was a staffer. But for the last 17, I've been your colleague as a commissioner on this court. And I can say without reservation that you have led with distinction, with honor, and with compassion. You and I do not share a political persuasion, but that has never kept us from being able to come together to make good decisions on behalf of the people of Tarrant County. I have watched you lead here in Tarrant County and also in the National Association of Counties, where you became president before me. You have always done what I think Tarrant County needs to do, which is to lead in every place where we find ourselves. Tarrant County has benefited greatly from your leadership. I understand that part of your next adventure is to go to law school. Become a lawyer. I look forward to that.
Just keep looking down that path.
Whatever you decide to do, Glenn, hope that God will continue to bless you. And you too, Brenda.
Thanks, Roy.
Glenn, I want to thank you for obviously all that you've done for Tarrant County, and it's so good to see someone serve in public office for all the right reasons, and that's what you've done. You have been here for the right reasons, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'm going to add to that. It's not going to be nearly as eloquent as what my colleagues have shared. I will say that I appreciate, upon assuming this office, representing Precinct 2, that everyone did on this court, but you certainly made yourself available to me to help me to learn the job. I found you to be a principled leader. I know that we don't always agree. Sometimes it's very obvious that we're in disagreement. But what I do appreciate is the fact that we're always able to overcome that, and ultimately, as it has been shared, is to do what's best for our community. I've learned a lot from you so far. I'd like to say that I've taught you a lot as well. Oh, this is a good sign. But I will enjoy serving with you for the remainder of, our terms. And I'll tell you what I really think on your last day. How about that? Yes. We must have Saint Brenda there. Yes.
Lynn, it's been a pleasure serving with you, even though you're a short timer on the court.
There's the senior right there. There's who we all kind of got our orders from.
But it has been a good time, and I appreciate your leadership, and I look forward to serving with you for the remainder of your term.
Thank you, JD. It really has been a pleasure. And county government, I knew very little about when I came on the court. And I will tell you that there is no better form of government to work in than in county government. And I have seen that across the country. We're little known. We're under the radar for the most part until pandemics hit. But it has been a fun 24 and a half, and it will be a great 26 years serving in the county government. Everybody ought to have an opportunity to do it because it is a lot of fun. And I told everybody when it started being work, that's when I'd start thinking about getting out. Well, it wasn't that caused me to retire. It's just after 26 years, it's time for somebody else to have an opportunity to have the fun and the enjoyment that I've had in serving on the Commissioner's Court. So It's been a great ride. Court members, you have before you our consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius, I believe we're going to
Yes.
have Vinnie.
No, I think we're going to go ahead and start with Ms. South, and she's going to lay
Oh, okay.
them out, and then we'll, as she comes to the podium, Your Honor, we have 3 audience participation forms, but none of those deal with anything that is on the agenda
So
today.
we will take them in their normal order of last.
Very good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Megan.
So I'm going to move directly into the vaccination update for this week, and I'm mostly going to focus on UNT-related slides today since they were not able to join us. So I'm going to talk about their pop-up locations, their schedule, and vaccination numbers today. So as we know, last week UNT opened the Asia Times Square pop-up vaccination site, and that was open from June 1st through the 5th. And they only administered 33 vaccines during that period. There was a lag in getting information out about this specific location. But I did want to point out that on the screen that you see up here, I know they're small, but those 3 images on the side, those are produced by Regina Calderon in our office. She's the digital media manager. And as soon as she receives notice of locations going live, she's producing things and putting them out to get them out onto push them out onto all of our various platforms. So as soon as Asia Times Square is going to open up for a second time for second doses beginning June 29th, and that will run through July 3rd. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. So we will get the word out about the second pop-up location at that site.
So we also want to make sure that the court realizes that on the UNT sites, that we are not the primary to publicize that. We are stepping in as a secondary, and we'll assume a much greater role to ensure that we get the word out.
So moving on from that location, UNT is going to open up 3 new pop-up locations, as Commissioner Allen stated. 2 of those locations will be in Arlington at the Cornerstone Baptist Church and the St. Matthew's Catholic Church. I'm going to switch over to this next slide for a moment. It's a pop-up calendar that UNT has provided. There is one other location that will be at East St. Paul Baptist Church. You'll notice on the calendar it shows that it's only for one day on the 14th. This is in Precinct 1. They're going to be administering J&J vaccines at that specific location. There's also one the following week at True Worth Place, where again they'll be administering J&J vaccinations there. Let's see. So at the back of your packet, there's a full schedule that also includes not just June but also July. So they go into both months. And in addition to the pop-up locations beginning this week, UNT will be partnering with MedStar to offer in-home vaccinations to homebound individuals. So hopefully in the next week or 2, we'll have some data that we can report back to you all and let you know how that is working out.
Megan, do you know for that, the UNT's work with MedStar, is that just within MedStar's service area, or?
That I do not know, but I can find out and
Okay.
let you know.
Thank you.
We will also be offering the vaccines, all 3 vaccines, I believe, at the Senior Synergy event on July the 1st.
Okay.
That is free to anyone who's, the event is free from that perspective, but we'll have all 3 vaccinations available at that day.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we are still doing Fridays at Sundance Square.
Yes, sir.
That's not on your calendar.
It is not. I think that they were intending this to be for UNT pop-up locations, so it does not list all of them. Redmond's report in there does list all the various locations. So I know I did want to talk really briefly about numbers. I know Commissioner Allen had asked for some numbers last week from UNT, specifically related to UT Arlington. So for the week beginning June 1st, they did administer 202 vaccines at that specific location. And in total, since opening on May 4th, they have administered 1,130 vaccines at that site. Also attached to the back of that presentation is a detailed sheet that breaks down all of the vaccines week by week, even the sites that have shut down permanently, just for your reference, and you can use that as you see fit. And we will continue to get that update weekly from UNT and provide those numbers to you all. So just want to pause for a quick second, make sure there's no questions related to vaccine sites, numbers, anything that we need to take back to UNT.
Megan, where did you say those numbers were?
They should be at the very back of my packet, and it's just a...
Oh, okay, very good.
See it? Okay.
I see it, okay. And I was of the understanding that UNT was going to be here today to present. Is there a reason why they're not?
They were not able to make it this time, but they will be here next Tuesday.
Okay. I will look forward to that.
Yes, ma'am. Quick note, just some comments about the marketing from UNT. So moving forward, they're still doing the geofencing and target ads around each new pop-up vaccine site 3 days prior to the site and then while the site is active. And then they are also going door to door 3 days prior to the site in the general vicinity of that pop-up site location. So just a quick note for that, and I'm sure that they can talk in more detail about that next week or the week after.
Next week.
Next week, okay. So I'm gonna go back, maybe, there we go. So switching over to focus on a couple of the other vaccination sites that aren't UNT related. Specifically, Commissioner Brooks mentioned the Sundance Square site, which is doing quite well for only being open 1 day per week, every Friday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. That will be open for the next 5 weeks or so. Last week, they administered 57 vaccines at the site, and Tim Curry does still remain open on Thursdays, only for the next couple of weeks, mostly to just administer those second doses. However, if someone comes in and wants a first dose, they will, of course, give them that first dose as well. Let's see, so the remaining slides are, obviously, your data is still declining for the call center, 90% over the last 6 weeks. As I've been saying, public health will be ready to take this back in-house when that contract ends. And the last couple of slides are your grant and your spend update. No significant items to talk about on either of those. Kristen is going to discuss the ARPA funding and more detail about the work session and other various aspects of that here in a few minutes. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now going to ask Mr. Tanasia to come forward and do his health update at this time.
Good morning, Your Honor, and members of the court.
Morning.
We'll go quickly through our weekly briefing. So situation is pretty stable so far in Tarrant County. We have 261,000 cases total, 3,530 deaths. Things are slowing down. Hospitalizations have been trending down. I think this last week we had a minor uptick, so overall the trend is still intact. But we have about 100 people in the hospital. That's about 2.25%. I think last week I reported 91, so it's not a very big jump, but still, you know, post-Memorial Day, we're always a little nervous to see what's going to happen. 28 people in the ICU and 70 ICU beds available. Far cry when we were talking about 1 bed and 6 beds available, so quite a drastic change there. The Trauma Service Area E serves a 19-county region. We're at 2.05% hospitalizations there, 316 people in the hospital, and then 232 beds available overall. The trend overall has been, you know, pretty well down, and then just now that we're getting close to the bottom, it's sort of flattening out. Overall, you know, the disease outbreak picture, the epidemic curve, the one that we talked about flattening, it has been flattened for quite a few weeks and in fact is trending down significantly. So that's great news. Death data, of course, follows that curve and it's down. And the virus is continuing to be slow. It's less than 1 replication rate in our community, so 0.89. All the other trend indicators Our testing average percentage positive has been down to 3%, which is a pandemic low. We haven't had that. And then our case rate is now at 25 per 100,000. So we're inching closer and closer to a low spread in our community. Currently, we're still at moderate. But if the case rate drops below 10 per 100,000 per CDC guidance, we would then be declaring a low spread in our community. And here's a U.S. trend. Again, a very strong downtrend developed. Even though vaccinations were out, the surge that happened after spring break was pretty significant. I think it surpassed the July peak. Not here in Texas, but 13 other states were involved, mostly in the Midwest and some in the far Pacific Northwest. But those all are starting to see declining numbers as the vaccination rates have improved. So things are looking pretty good for U.S. as well. So what are we supposed to continue to do? If you're vaccinated, you're back to normal. That's been the message, that you can pretty much resume all activities as normal. But those that are not vaccinated, it's still recommended that they are, some caution is being urged that they choose these activities carefully and continue to wear these masks. That way, especially if you're in mixed company, you should continue to wear masks. And then real quick update on...
Will you go back to the, what was the benchmark that you shared for when we would drop from moderate to low?
So it is a combination of a couple of things. So one of the indicators is the positivity rate. Right now we're below 5%. And then the case rate is what we're waiting on. It has to drop below 10 per 100,000 population.
10 per 100. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Where are we?
25 per 100,000. So far cry from 930 per 100,000. So we've come a long way. It's just taken a while.
Where were we last week, and how quickly are we going to get to low?
We were at 31 per 100,000 last week. If the trend holds, I fully expect somewhere late June, early July, if nothing has changed because of Memorial Day. So hopefully the numbers will continue to trend in that same pace. And then you talked or heard about the vaccination site schedule. This is more public health clinics focused. So our Resource Connection site stays open. We're currently open 6 days a week. And there's varying schedule on times, but we're trying to cover Mondays and Thursdays more late hours till 8 p.m. And then on Sunday afternoons, noon to 4. And then the other days are regular 9 to 5. And then similarly at the Hearst Conference Center, we're still open about 6 days. Actually they're open 5 days, Tuesday to Saturdays. And then we again cover late hours on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 11 to 8. And then rest of the days are 9 to 6 p.m. You've heard about Tim Curry sort of on the final stretch of the last couple of weeks. People who are coming there for first doses, they're also being told that there's another site at the Sundance Square where they can finish off their second doses, or they have a choice of other locations where they can come to. The site at Sundance Square, performing really well. First week we had 52 people, last week we had 57. So it doesn't hurt that we keep that up and advertise and talk about the site. Seems to be gaining some attention because it's in a choice area, more convenient. People from downtown area can come and get vaccinated. And then all of our public health clinics are open 8 to 5. They have COVID vaccine available. So it's becoming routine part of our daily activities. Pop-ups continue. There's a variety of them. We talked about a Birdville ISD pop-up, I think, a couple weeks ago. It got canceled at the last minute. But this one is supposed to go. It's at the Birdville Skyline Community Center in Haltom City, 6:30 to 8 this evening. And then we have a couple of ISD-related pop-ups in Castleberry ISD that are supposed to happen tomorrow. And then second dose pop-ups happening, one in Grand Prairie at the International Leadership of Texas, and another one in Fort Worth. The one in Grand Prairie was very well attended, so we expect more of a good response there as well. So that's the clinic site schedule, and again, all the partnership efforts continue. We are doing some pop-ups, but we have City of Fort Worth helping, City of Arlington helping, MedStar, a variety of other partners, Curative helping, UNT helping. So there's a lot of vaccine activity happening in the community still. So quick update on the dashboard on the vaccine numbers, 1.4 million doses delivered in Tarrant County. out of which 652,000 are first doses, so that's 31% of the community getting at least one dose, and then about 26% of the community having completed their series. So again, work still needs to continue, but as more age groups open, I think there's going to be, again, renewed interest of getting more people vaccinated. And then here's another chart of where the signups are happening. We've talked about the on-foot efforts. I think those are gaining some strength. So as you can see, the colors are getting darker almost everywhere across the county, that more and more people have signed up. So that's great news. And then this slide here talks about of all the vaccines given, where have they gone, what age groups, what race, ethnicity breakdown, and you know, gender difference. So overall, things are improving in every aspect of you know, vaccine delivery. Even though the gains may seem slower compared to what we saw, you know, we were giving like 10,000 a day. Now we're, you know, less than 1,000 a day, but it's still 1,000 more people that we didn't have vaccinated. And the final slide here is just the update on the numbers. Slow but steady improvements all across public health, and our partners are doing a good job getting the vaccine out to the community. I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
How are we trending with other comparable counties in Texas or even with the state right now?
We're at a comparable rate. The entire state has seen a slowdown in vaccine uptake, but still, I mean, the work is continuing. As you all have heard, a variety of efforts are underway. This is going to be a long process. It's not going to be done in a day. We just need to continue on addressing the hesitancy that people may have, making it more convenient, and hopefully get more people vaccinated along the way.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
I do think that what you're going to find, though, is that we're at a point now where we're going to be shifting on how we deliver vaccines. We started with big mega centers. We started with and then we went to the drive-throughs. The numbers are just dwindling so much that we're going to have to focus on pop-ups and also moving into the communities, the hard-to-reach communities, and that's going to be the major effort. The other things that are happening is that more and more vaccines are given at the pharmacies, which we talked about the fact that would probably be eventually going to be one of the main delivery systems. And we've also worked with our partners, and our partners have also done a lot of pop-ups. Forward Fire, Arlington Fire, Mansfield has been doing a bunch. Of course, our partners in the Northeast have really stepped up, but I think that you're going to see those centers eventually go away, probably within the next 6 weeks or so. And but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be giving vaccination. It's just a different method of how we get the vaccines out. JPS is still doing their vaccinations at their clinics. Our clinics have that, and it's more vaccinations on demands. You're going to see like something at Square, where we're going to maybe increase the number of days we may be there. We're going to have to go out and find the areas where people want to be vaccinated, set up there, give them the vaccines, and then move on. So you're going to see somewhat of a continued transition away from the standard model to a more flexible model. And that'll be driven by numbers more than anything else.
The analogy I like to use, GK, is that with the mega centers, we pick the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Now, the hard-to-pick fruit, we've got to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. Pop-ups are definitely the way to go.
Yes, sir.
And Hearst Center is closing, what, the end of June?
Yes, sir. Their agreement ends at the end of June. We're still in discussions on how to actually, phase out. So it's still to be determined, but there is an agreement that's ending currently at the end of June. Yes, sir.
It's anticipated that at the end of June, that site will be closed. Okay. So if we can now move back to item number 1, we'd like to have a brief discussion with the court. Ms. Camarino is going to lead that discussion as relates to the scope of work for the ARPA funds. Ms. Camarino.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You've all received a copy of the draft scope of services for the COVID-19 Needs and Resources Assessment, RFP. This assessment has been discussed at a high level in court up until now. I hope that you've had a few minutes to review this. I'd like to preface the discussion with a couple of points, if I may. First, that this assessment is not intended to be the sole input to any decision-making regarding ARPA funds. This is really the outreach piece. This is ensuring that we have heard from our community in regards to the needs that exist. It also will take into account other available resources outside of our state and local funds. That's important to know. There are at least 25 other funding streams coming through ARPA that will address various needs within our community. And so as this assessment is conducted, we'll be looking at needs, but also, and maybe more importantly, resources that can meet those needs. So this, again, is one input for us to use and for the court to use when considering prioritized funding. The second thing missing from this scope and what will be added before finalized is language addressing an equitable approach to the assessment. So I will go through and highlight some areas where we want to ensure that the eventual consultant will keep in mind taking an equitable approach not only to conducting the assessment, but also to the eventual recommendations that they make. Megan mentioned we do plan to hold a workshop next week. This would be the first workshop related to ARPA funding with the court. That agenda is still being built, and staff will reach out to each of you in the coming days for input into that discussion.
One of the things that I can't tell you how important I think it is that we look at an all-inclusive needs assessment, and by that, you and I have talked a little bit, and I've mentioned it in court. I think it's important that we bring the cities into it. I believe it's important that we bring the homeless, the social agencies, the foundations. When you add the money that we're getting in the cities and counties, and when you add to that the separate money that's coming from HUD for homelessness or for housing and food and different things and human services, we are very, very close, if not over $1 billion. And I think we have a very unique opportunity to make some significant improvements and set some standards going forward for Tarrant County and for all of the citizens of Tarrant County, not a particular city or certain section of. So as we even have our workshops, I want us to consider or at least inviting other folks, whether it be folks from the Mayor's Council, whether it be Fort Worth or Arlington, or whether it be the education facilities, whether it be the various nonprofits that are working on, whether it be health and human services, the hospitals, whatever it may be. I think we need to throw this net throughout the county, over all of the county, and try to bring as much of the money that is coming down to help recover from the pandemic, to restart and to reignite the economic conditions that we had prior to this. And I really don't want us to look at this, and I know you're not, I know everything we've talked about, you've talked about it in terms of this, but I think it's extremely important that we broaden our focus to bring as many people under the tent as we possibly can as we move forward with this.
Understood. Thank you.
So I'd raised with you my points of concern about the equity piece, so thanks for reworking that to make sure that we are making those considerations. In the draft scope of services, there was reference to local fiscal recovery funds, but I haven't really seen that anywhere else in some of the updates and reports that you all provide. So when will we start including that? Or maybe is it called something else? Because, we like to use like 10 different references for the same things.
Sure. So I think when we internally are saying ARPA, We're referencing the direct allocation that we have received, and the name of those funds is the state and local fiscal recovery funds.
Okay.
So the funding, the 50% that we've received, and the latter, the remaining that we'll receive next year, those are our ARPA funds.
Okay.
Which is the state and local
The
fiscal
FRF.
recovery. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
very good.
Mhm.
Okay, makes sense now. Thank you.
Sure.
As we talk about this workshop, and I know, because we'll say ARPA, and I'll mention something about housing, and they say, oh, no, there's a whole lot of other money for that. The quicker we can identify the various sources and natures of the funds that are coming into the county, the better off we will, I think, all be, because it will allow us to include that in our conversations as we begin to talk with the foundations or with, Lauren King or Lauren at the Homeless Coalition, stuff along that line.
Yeah, we could certainly prioritize the resource assessment piece in the timeline.
I will say off the top is somewhat to add to the judge's point, and we received kind of different representation of the reporting when we were getting the regular updates from Guidehouse. I think I mentioned before, I'd like for us to go back to that. For me, it was easier to understand kind of where everything was going and kind of its connection points with the pots of, the different
So
pots of
we'll
money.
become much more granular in the reporting aspect.
Okay.
And there is a big difference between CRF and ARPA, because ARPA is not only, it's a larger amount, but you have a lot more different, there are a greater number of revenue streams coming down for specific activities outside of what Kristen had identified as state, local, and tribal funding.
Okay, great.
The one other thing that I would just say, for all of our departments who are going to, in any way, shape, or form, be affected, I would strongly encourage multiple folks to go to NACO's annual conference, which is going to be held around D.C. in Prince George's County. It's going to be there at the Gaylord. But I know a tremendous amount of this conference is going to be focused on the CARE and ARPA funds. And I think from the accounting of it to the various uses of it, and I think it would be very important. I think we'll learn a lot about, one, what Treasury, I think there'll be a number of folks from Treasury who will actually be there. At the same time, we'll have an opportunity to interact with other counties, and I've already begun to see some of the innovative ideas that other counties around the country are planning. So I can't stress enough, I hope we have a good representation from, GK, your office, Renee, the auditor, just really all facets that are going to be affected by the ARPA and the CARES money, as well as all those other monies that we just talked about identifying that we're going to be coming down as a result of that.
Okay.
I think the judge makes a good point, GK. Kristen could benefit greatly from coming to the NACO conference.
I think we
He's the
need to
boss.
find somebody other than Kristen. I don't think she needs to go to that conference.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got.
You want to chain her to her desk?
Well, no, it's not
No,
her
no,
desk
we-
that I want to train her to.
Okay.
But,
I think we need to leave that alone.
We do.
I tell you what,
Thank
why
We're
you.
don't,
talking about a person who has her own agency, so
we'll handle all this internally. Y'all don't need to worry about it.
I tried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
you're welcome.
You handle it.
Moving right along.
Yes. Okay, members of the court, if we can now go to item number 2 under the administrator section. We're going to request that the court approve the amended health and safety policy for Tarrant County buildings and facilities. I believe that information was sent to you again yesterday. This has been an extensive review. We believe that it conforms with the governor's executive order GA 36. We're requesting approval.
I agree, and I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Schaffner is going to present item number 3.
Hello, Russell.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. So item number 3, we are seeking approval to have the Commissioners Court designate the Information Security Officer, Darren May, as the individual that can compel compliance with the cybersecurity, the new cybersecurity training requirements that came through the 87th session in HB 1118. As part of those requirements, and the reporting deadline, I believe, is on June 14th, which is about a week away, and we have to have 100% compliance with cybersecurity training. I believe currently there are 28 individuals in the county that have not completed their training. In order to meet 100% compliance, we have the ability through the new bill to lock out individuals until they are compliant. And through locking them out, we are able to meet that 100%. So that's what this particular action is, what we're seeking, to designate Darren May as that individual, or the Information Security Officer as that individual to compel compliance.
So what happens if we are not in compliance?
So if we're not in compliance with the provisions of HB 1118, Tarrant County we would have to undergo an evaluation through the Governor's Office of Criminal Justice, and we may have to pay back criminal justice grants that we have already received for this fiscal year and would not be eligible to receive them for next fiscal year.
I move approval as Darren May as that information security person. But I would also suggest that you submit that list of 28 persons who are delinquent to the department heads and to this court, so that we can help Darren.
And Commissioner, I believe that Mr. May has been working, I believe he sends out emails morning and night to those individuals that have not completed. I believe in the court communication, which we put together and finalized last Thursday, it says approximately 100 individuals. Mr. May has been able over the last week to knock out about 75% of that.
Do the department heads know that there are people in there?
Yes, sir. We're making phone calls today.
Okay.
Well, and I would add, I know that there's one of my team members who is out on leave who is doing it upon their return, I think today or tomorrow. But so I know that there's some exceptional situations, but it seems like that the word is getting out. So that's a great job.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. If an employee is out on FMLA, if an employee is out on military leave, those are exceptions that are allowed in the bill to allow us to get to 100% compliance. But thank you for bringing that up at that point.
Oh, you made a motion,
I
right?
did.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elections. Mr. Garcia.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Ida.
We're here to request the court to approve an order calling for the special election on July 27. That would be the runoff for the congressional seat on U.S. Rep. District 6.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I see that you have down estimated cost of $600,000.
Yeah.
I guess we have no choice but to be the bearer of
That's correct.
that cost, since we can't
Correct.
spread it to anybody
Yes,
else.
sir.
Tell the governor how much we appreciate that. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Well, and Hyder, I would just add a thanks to you and your team for all the work with the election. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll tell them. I'll remind them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vinnie?
Public Health has one item for your consideration. We're requesting approval of a notice of award between Tarrant County and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is a grant that we talked about a little bit ago. It's now the notice has arrived. It's $27.2 million. Even though the excuse was COVID, it's really focused on health disparities and health equity.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Glenn?
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personal agenda. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
We have two additional items. The second item, we're asking the court to approve changes to the table of organization for public health. This is related to the item that Vinny just presented. Specifically, we're asking the court to approve 70 new positions effective tomorrow. The position titles are outlined in your court communique. These positions, as Vinny mentioned, will be funded by the CDC Disparities Grant, and we're looking at an impact to the grant of about $4.2 million.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And our third and final item, we're asking the court to approve a double fill of a position and a waiver for the 233rd District Court. Judge Newell's court coordinator is leaving county service at the end of June with 400 vacation hours. The judge is requesting a double fill of about 2.5 weeks so that knowledge transfer can occur, and a waiver of 400 vacation hours. We're estimating the impact to the general fund to be approximately $20,500 and some change. And then that does include fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion.
Abstain.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
We had 4 and 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Judge, if I could just take a moment to remind employees that today, tomorrow, and Thursday, we have our vision vendor on site at the plaza. We've sent several emails from the PBSC mailbox, so I would encourage you, if you've missed it, to revisit your inbox and look for the announcement from PBSC. Ahmed will be here on site. It's my understanding that all of the exam appointments are filled. However, it's still an opportunity to shop for frames and contact lens. So, again, look for your email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Good morning.
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 We have 3 items for your consideration. The first item is an award recommendation for bid number 2021-071. This is a contract for WatchGuard digital in-car system software warranty protection for the Sheriff's Office, awarding to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $27,075. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2021-085. This is our annual contract for security guard services, countywide, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors listed in the court communique per unit price.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the last item is approval of an invoice payment for annual maintenance fees for public health to Group Rare Technologies in the amount of $5,840.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Are there any appointments today? Seeing none, then you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims included and
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson? Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manias?
Your Honor, just a comment on the briefing items. We do not have an update on the legislative issues. Mr. Schaffner is still working on various activities related to that. Also, last week, Commissioner Fickus, you had requested that we have as a standing item the transportation bond package, and I believe the court basically said they want to expand the title more than just transportation. So what you see on briefing is the Tarrant County General Obligation Bond Program that incorporates buildings and transportation and the likes. We don't have anything to present today. However, next week, Mr. Vandegrift, who is the chair of the PEC, is going to be here to address the court as relates to those particular items. So it's a standing item that we're going to have. You're going to see that. We'll keep the regular session issue or the legislative session up on the agenda for a while, and we'll probably have to rotate that to a special called session of the legislature. But we don't have anything to present to the court this morning as it relates to briefing. However, I do ask that we go into, once we have audience participation is completed, if we could go into closed session for just a short moment.
Okay, with that, we'll move to audience participation. Our first is Nicole Winnicky. Please come forward, state your name, and then you have 3 minutes to make any comments. Since your item is not on the agenda, we cannot respond to you at this time.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Nicole Winke. I'm a homeowner in the Pyramid Acres subdivision located in the far southwest corner of Tarrant County. I'm here today on behalf of some of my neighbors to ask for a county ordinance restricting the use of fireworks in my neighborhood strictly to New Year's Eve and the 4th of July holidays. Our neighborhood is outside the Fort Worth city limits, and because of this, there is currently no restriction on the use of fireworks. I'm here today because of my concerns regarding the public's health and safety because of the unregulated use of these fireworks. Imagine you are sitting down to dinner with your family on a weeknight. Suddenly, a sound louder than a gunshot explodes right outside your window. Your combat veteran husband jumps up out of his seat, your infant starts crying, and your dog starts shaking and cowering. This is a regular occurrence in my neighborhood at least once per week. I contacted the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, and they stated that there are no enforceable noise ordinances in the county. I will draw your attention to Texas Penal Code 42.01, which states that no person may make unreasonable noise in a public place other than a sports shooting range, as defined by Section 250.001, Local Government Code, or in or near a private residence that he has no right to occupy. A noise is presumed to be unreasonable if the noise exceeds a decibel level of 85 after the person making the noise receives notice from a magistrate or peace officer that the noise is a public nuisance. Understanding that the County Commissioner's Court cannot implement noise ordinances, I believe you do have jurisdiction over the use of fireworks and matters of public safety. The CDC states that hearing loss can result from a single loud sound, like firecrackers, near your ear. Or, more often, hearing loss can result over time from damage caused by repeated exposures to loud sounds. The louder the sound, the shorter the amount of time it takes for hearing loss to occur. The longer the exposure, the greater the risk for hearing loss, especially when hearing protection is not used or there is not enough time for the ears to rest between exposures. Sound is measured in decibels. A whisper is about 30 decibels, normal conversation is about 60 decibels, and a motorcycle engine running is about 95 decibels. Loud noises above 120 decibels can cause immediate harm to your ears. The fireworks used by our neighbors register in the 140 to 150 decibel range, and they are used within 100 feet of other residences. This means that by being outside when one of these fireworks are lit just once can cause hearing loss. For this reason, the use of fireworks in our neighborhood should not be considered a noise issue, but rather an issue of public health and safety. There is an existing ordinance in Pyramid Acres restricting the use of firearms. I would argue that explosive devices used by an untrained person are equally, if not more, dangerous. So why isn't there any ordinance regarding the use of fireworks? Thank you for your time.
If you will get with Mr. Manius.
Talk to me.
Although I think you may have already talked with Mr. Skinner about the existing regulations we have regarding the use of fireworks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then I think we should be able to help you with your issues.
Okay.
Next is Jesse Taylor. Morning, Mr. Taylor.
Morning, Judge.
Please state your name, and then you have 3 minutes for that.
Yes, sir.
Again, your item is not on our agenda
agenda.
today, so we
Yes,
can't
sir.
respond to that.
Yes, sir. Hey, my name is Jesse Taylor. I'm the precinct chair of District 1297, Tarrant County Republican Party. I'm a district member of District 5, but today I just come here as a regular old citizen. I just want to speak about Juneteenth, June 19th, and want to grant permission to be able to raise the June 19th flag on June 19th. I think it'll signify a great need right now within our city. I think it would help bring our city even closer together. I know I was aware that y'all gave permission to put flags around the pole of June 19th, and that's great, that's fine and dandy. But as being a kid that used to raise the flag at schools, being one of the color guards in the military, raising the flag, that's not the same significance as actually raising that flag. So today I wanted to actually, I don't know if I can give this to y'all.
If you'll give it to him, he'll pass it around.
Okay. As being a member in the 2020 Republican Party Senate District 10, we had a resolution that I presented, and it actually passed significantly to actually make June 19th a national holiday. This is within City District 10. So I don't think y'all was aware of that this was taking place. So it has been some movement going forward. I just think if we was actually do this by actually raising the flag, we could even move that even along a little bit further. In my closing, I looked on the news last week, and I seen the way that Dallas is moving. And Dallas was raising the pride flag over in Dallas. And I just thought that look, if Dallas can do that, why come Fort Worth can't stand tall and we raise this doggone June 19th flag this Juneteenth, and honor not only Miss Opal, but all the people that came before her after those 2.5 years of them remaining in labor. I just think this will be a great gratification. And with that being said, I plan on putting this agenda on the agenda for next week, so if I have permission, I'll come back and speak up on it again.
Let me ask Mr. Taylor a question, please.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen an official Juneteenth flag. Is there
Miss
one?
Miss Opal has one. She has. Next week I'll bring it with me. I wanted to bring it today just to show you.
I'd
but
like
next
to
week
see
I
it.
will bring the flag so y'all can see it, so you can approve of it, yay or nay.
Okay.
But I just wanted to bring that awareness to you. Appreciate your time.
Would you put this on the agenda for next week?
And if
please,
anyone else
Mr.
needed those papers,
Mr. Maney?
then I would happily. I got some extra ones also.
I'll take those.
Take some.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
And if you will bring the flag, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. I sure will.
I'd appreciate
I sure
it.
will, Dr. Brooks. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye, Sheriff.
Next, I'm going to call Cassandra Dobbs.
Hi, you've reached Cassandra Dobbs. I'm sorry I'm not able to come to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and number.
Next, I will try to pronounce Hank Young Co., I believe, is about as close as I'm probably going to get.
Hello?
Ms. Coe,
Yeah?
this is Judge Whitley from Tarrant County's Commissioners Court. You had asked to participate during the public comments section. We are at that point. If you would please state your name, and then you have 3 minutes to make any comments. Because your particular item is not on the agenda, we cannot legally respond, but at this time you're able to make whatever comments you'd like to make within the 3-minute time frame.
Oh, no thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
We're going to try Cassandra back again.
Hello?
Ms. Dobbs.
Yes, this is she.
This is Judge Whitley. We're at the point in our agenda for audience participation, and you had indicated that you wish to address the court. So it's an item that's not on the agenda, so therefore we cannot respond to your comments, but you have 3 minutes in which to make any comments you'd like to make at this time.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cassandra Dobbs. I am a resident of here in Tarrant County. I am calling as an individual and as a member of an organization here in Fort Worth known as Equitable of Tarrant. I'm wishing to speak on the 287G agreement that has been indefinitely renewed as of last year. I know that the yearly review is coming up here shortly, and I just wanted to once again take some time to voice my discontent that there's so many resources of our community has been allocated towards this agreement that has time and time again proven to not be beneficial to anyone, and continuing to prioritize what I view as to be the wrong things at this time, and in such a vulnerable period of our community where a lot of people are here without resources, many people are left without jobs. I see this program as being unnecessary use of resources and money, and there's a lot of people in the community who agree. So I just hope that there is at least some sort of time that is taken to reconsider the renewal of this agreement, because it is a voluntary agreement between the county and ICE itself. So every single person here on this court has the power to choose to better prioritize the resources of our county. So I was just calling to hopefully get this idea back in everyone's mind, and just remind that there's still a lot of people who care very, very deeply about this issue, and we will continue to speak up on what we believe. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dobbs.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, there are no other comments. So at this time, we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close, discuss items exempt under section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we stand adjourned.